How y'all doing, everybody? Welcome back to TwoSun Tuesday. This is quite a new knife, even though the number might not suggest that. This being the TS275 Kerchunk. And yeah, as you can see, this is a recurve American tanto kind of thing. And TwoSun recently has come out with quite a few of these. They've been through other designers, Wong, Night Morning, Raihi. But this one is different. This one is, from what you can see, is H Design. From what I can tell, the designer's name, I think I talked to him on Facebook here, was Nguyen Hoi Hu. He's a Vietnamese guy. Or at least that's definitely the language that one would make me assume that was it, but hey, he did speak in English, so there's that. I guess if someone is a Vietnam War buff, I'm pretty sure this person doesn't have any relation to the Star General of the Vietnam people back in that day and age. But I have absolutely no idea. Maybe they have some sort of relation. No clue whatsoever. But this thing, quite interesting. When I saw the original picture on the eBay auctions, as well as when the designer of this posted his video up there, I thought they were the same knife, and this was a prototype. Had a little sticker or something like that on there. This, yeah, it's not a sticker. It is a different kind of laser etch, just like the rest of it there. It looks a little bit like what they've done for a couple of their knives that used M398 steel. Like this guy right here. Much smaller, but yeah, you can see it's got a different kind of color around it. Yeah, so anyway, as I was talking about, this thing is pretty interesting to me, and I'll definitely show you why during the disassembly for it. Since this thing is done a little bit different than a lot of other TwoSuns out there, and I do like to see that, and kind of happy with the way all of that sort of goes. But, yeah, let's go ahead and talk about all of this sort of stuff. Like almost all of their hollow grinds for these tantos and things like that they end up doing, they are a little thicker behind the edge than if they were a full flat grind. That seems to be a little bit more of a TwoSun's doing, I think, necessarily than designers, because it's showed up time and time again between all the different designers who have come out with these things over the last couple of years. So I think that's mostly just TwoSun playing it a little safe rather than doing a hollow grind that ends up being very, very thin behind the edge there. But I wouldn't really call this a harpoon, but it does have a little point up here. Ergonomically, this thing is quite similar to the Spyderco Resilience that I had just taken a look at. Obviously, that knife is the handle's a little bit longer because it has a 4.2-inch blade. I don't actually have it right here in front of my face at the moment to compare, but holding it much the same way here in this saber grip, they feel very, very similar. The same kind of curve going on here in the back, and the thumb kind of locks in there just about the same. So I certainly liken the ergonomics to that sort of thing. Something that I really do appreciate here is the plunge grind, which is near as makes no difference, a full 90 degrees rather than something that gradually comes up. And the blade starts, quite a bit further down than that, so you do have quite a bit of sharpening there. Keep in mind that, yes, I have already reprofiled this to 17 degrees, so I have sharpened it. This thing completely avoids the whole snaggletooth thing where a bit of the blade would stick out pretty close to the top of the handle here. And part of that is obviously due to the full-length back spacer design that we got going on here, but the blade inside doesn't come anywhere near it. So even if that wasn't here, you would still have a great time with that. You wouldn't really have any blade sticking up there. We got a little tiny bit of a lanyard sort of thing set up in there. A little thin, so you might be hard-pressed to be able to lace through certain materials that you might be working with for your lanyards. And we have, of course, their carbon fiber here, which is, just their standard carbon fiber. I can't really fault them for it. I've rarely seen anything wrong with any of it. It's all just really good, no voids, so hooray for that. We also have the pocket clip here, which hangs about as deep carry-ish as you can for a titanium milled pocket clip. It's not mounted way up the top there, so you are still going to have, a little triangle or something sticking out there. Certainly doesn't bother me. I do prefer having a little bit of my knife butt ends poking above my pocket, as it makes it much easier for me to reach in and grab it. Yeah, it's just a little bit easier than a full deep carry pocket clip is. We got the front flipper here. Detent's pretty darn good on this thing. You can fail it, obviously, if you really, really, really want to. But that's by, of course, using the soft part of your finger and just kind of lazily doing that. But, yeah, I mean, if you have any kind of force behind it whatsoever, it's going to fly out for you. And that's probably because, this thing is a full-length, full-size knife. It's a 3.9 millimeter blade stock thickness that I ended up measuring on this thing. And 3.64 inches from basically the top point out here towards the tip. So, yeah, it's definitely thick. But, yeah, it still cuts quite nicely. As we've come to expect from most TwoSuns these days. Yeah, their blade stocks are fairly thick, but hey, their geometry usually ends up making up for that, especially on the 200 and 300 series. Some of the things in the tens and the hundreds numbers, they're a little thick, but that's okay. Anyway, back to this whole thing here. We got 0.53 inches thickness here, so just a little tiny bit thicker than a PM2. Speaking of which, I should go ahead and bring that and some others out here so we can get some size comparisons going on. So there's that PM2, there's my bedraggled old Benchmade 940 there. Yep, definitely larger than that. Let's see, here's the Ontario Rat number 1. Pretty similar there, a little bit longer on the handle, but quite similar overall. Oh, there was another one I wanted to pull out. Oh, sure, why not? Since I like this thing so much. We have the Boker Kalashnikov 74 here in the donut configuration, if you will. Dessert Warrior, whatever. And why not? It's here and is probably relevant. Quite similar to a Spyderco Endura. So, yeah, there we go. Okay, as far as weight on this thing, that is what really ends up impressing me. And that's because this is 4.66 ounces, or 132 grams. Yes, that's not a feather light. I definitely understand that. However, a lot of the knives that I've been getting from TwoSun that are anywhere near this size, as the titanium frame locks, are over 5 ounces easily, if not pushing up to 6, like a couple of the Reiki ones that I've gotten recently. And that has to do with what I alluded to earlier, that we're going to take a look at on the inside here. But yes, so that is mostly what I wanted to end up covering there for this thing here. Because the blade stock thickness is quite thick on this. Obviously, this does have quite the fall shut action. I still feel a little bit of that zippy kind of nature from the satin on this thing, but the blade is heavy enough on it that that doesn't really affect you dropping it. And it does have a detent ramp because the detent's just a little late on this thing, but yeah, right around where it would come in contact with your thumb. But alrighty, so for those of you who don't really care what the inside of this thing looks like, I appreciate y'all for stopping by, and you know, whether you were on the fence for this or wasn't aware of this model in particular, I hope that definitely helped. For the rest of us, though, we're gonna dig just a little bit deeper on this guy and find out what makes him a little bit lighter than his other TwoSun contemporaries. If this is a male knife, I have no idea if knives have genders. Most things and stuff that males have are, you know, traditionally female, you know, cars and boats and guns and things like that. But, okay, so, yep, we are in super easy, and you can see that, yes, this is a titanium frame lock, but it is actually skeletonized, rather than the stupid thing that I've referred to a lot of them as, of having some weight relief being done in there. This actually has full skeletonization. And yes, that really, really does help with these guys to be, to reduce that weight by probably about a half an ounce or more. So yeah, when I knew the dimensions on this guy, when I first got him out of the mailbox, I was confused because the box didn't feel anywhere near as heavy as I thought it should. But yeah, that was definitely it. Here's the back spacer here. You can see all that. We got another pin up there. And we do have a blade groove in here. Like I said, this thing really doesn't come anywhere close to it. But hey, I still like to see that in general, so I don't have to have any worries about any blade wrap or something like that. That might end up happening. And because this thing does have a bit of weight when you're thwacking it out, we got a stupid beefy backspacer, or not backspacer, but stop pin going on there. So there we are. And then, yes, the carbon fiber on both sides, easily removable with, well, they have a screw on either side here, as you can see. And then, of course, the pivot. And yeah, super easy to take out if you wanted to do any anno work or something like that without worrying about doing something weird to the carbon fiber or any of that sort of good stuff. I didn't pay attention to, well, it looks like I got it anyway. Here's wrist cam. Yeah, I do quite appreciate that a lot of these TwoSuns, a lot of them recently, they only have a couple of screws to get into them. You have the pivot, of course, and usually something on the back, but that's about it compared to some others that have quite a bit more attachment points there. That can be a good or a bad thing. Certainly easy for getting into it for maintenance. But it could be a bad thing in case, you know, if you have something like this and one of these particular screws becomes loose, then you do kind of lose a little bit of that structural rigidity from not having any other tethering points. Obviously, this has a pin in there, but yeah. This, you know, obviously all that information is going to be in the title and the description and all that. But yes, this is in D2 steel. It's one of the many that have come out recently that TwoSun has gone back to D2 for due to some scratching problems and return things going on with 14C. From what I understand, they are working on changing that up and things like that. I do have one coming that's in AUS 10 steel, which, I mean, it's basically 440C that Japanese company produces. Cold steel, I've had some experience with some of their stuff in that. It's okay. I wouldn't necessarily say it's an upgrade or a downgrade or anything like that from 14C, but I guess it doesn't scratch as much, so that was something that they were playing around with. But yeah, I've also seen quite a few of them still coming out in 14C, and they're stonewashing a lot more of those to keep those scratches to a minimum as well. So that's good to see. But in the meantime, quite a few of them that have recently come out and or are going to will probably be in this D2 steel. So yeah. I don't really have any problems with that. Just basically off of my assessment of the cut tests I've done with their D2 on a few different models, and they do a really good job with it. It's cut well up and above a lot of the other companies' D2s out there, from Gonzo and CJRB and let's see, there was another one recently that I had tested in D2. I want to say it was Petrified Fish or something like that. But the couple of TwoSuns that I've done those cut testing on, they've seemed to have held that edge for a couple hundred extra cuts of the rope. So I don't really have a problem with the performance of it. So, well, I suppose I'll leave it at that. Yeah, this is the TS275 from Nguyen Hoi Hu, or H Design here. It's a neat design. It's a titanium frame lock that's actually skeletonized, so for this being quite that large of a knife, you do lose a little bit of weight. Fantastic. Alrighty, as always, I appreciate y'all for watching, and have yourself a wonderful rest of your day, yo.